So how many of you will agree with me that in some conversation you get triggered that results in anger and that you lose your control in that communication? Please raise your hand. Great. So many of you. Thank you. So I have a very interesting story to share. Back in 2004, I was in 12th standard. I was very good in sports. However, I didn't had much of the interest in academics. And we are talking about days when sports was not really considered as a mainstream profession either by the parents or by the teachers. I remember in December 2004, we had our pre-board exams, and as expected, I flunked in 4 out of 6 exams. My performance was so bad there that my class teacher had to tell me that I will not be permitted to give board exam and they will withhold my admit card. The situation was so serious that my mother was called for a meeting at the school. And during the meeting, my mother, when she was conversing with my teacher made a remark and she said that, you know what, this boy is incapable of anything and he will reach nowhere in life. Upon hearing this conversation, my mother started crying uncontrollably. And for me, I felt terrible, helpless, and shattered at that point in time. From this conversation, the word incapable struck me so hard that I created a negative self-belief about me on incapability. I created a self-belief that I am incapable, and I started resisting any form of communication that even remotely suggested that I am not capable. Capability became the paradigm, the realm from which I used to communicate with people. I used to see people more capable than me, as capable as me, or less capable as me. Whenever there is a conversation about capability, my trigger would show up and I would stand up, even if it is 4 a.m. in the morning, to have conversation to prove that I am capable. Because I resist the conversation about incapability, even if the person is not really saying that I am not capable. However, it used to land to me as if he's telling me that you are not capable. Now, our triggers in conversation, those triggers are only the surface. Behind those triggers and beneath those triggers, you have your negative self-belief, which are the cause of your trigger. So it is a cause and effect relationship where a self-belief leads to these kind of triggers which show up during your conversation. Now, these self-belief could be of, these negative self-belief, could be of many kind. I had my negative self-belief was around incapability. Some people have around weak, and most of the time, whenever there is a conversation and they get a feeling that they are being communicated, they are being suppressed, as a result, they become rebel. And that's their trigger moment. Now what happens? When you are communicating from your triggers, it not only affects your speaking, but it really impacts your listening also. You listen from your negative self-belief, and the conversation of others lands to you negatively, which supports or strengthens your negative self-belief, and that's where your trigger moment, as we call it, the fight and the flight reaction system of the mind kicks in. Now, what do we do about these triggers? What are the tools that we have that can really bring us back in the communication? Now, the first tool is you need to acknowledge the fact that you have triggers. And how can you identify and acknowledge that you have triggers is actually seeing yourself in those conversations where you resist badly. If you are resisting a conversation, there is a very high likelihood that behind that, beneath that, there is some negative self-belief which does not want you to listen to that communication and which ultimately leads and kicks in your fight and flight mechanism. And another most important tool that you can use to bring back yourself in communication is communicate with intention. Always remember that every communication has an intention. Every communication. And intention is the essence of the communication. If you're dealing with a client, your intention is to serve the client. You should be in a service of that intention. However, if you are communicating from the old paradigm where you let your triggers kick in, now what happens is if the client tells you that we have a better way to do thing or we can take a different approach, your trigger will kick in and it will sound to you as if he's telling you, I am not smart enough. I'm not capable enough. So if you are in the service of the intention of the communication, you will catch yourself in the moment and you will not let your trigger take over the communication. And I would also like to tell you that in Hindu Shastra also, the power of intention is being referred to as Sankalpa. If you break these words, Sankalpa is derived from San, which typically means a belief or an idea, and Kalpa means a rule that will be given precedence over every other thing. So power of intention, as per our Hindu Shastras, is also known as Sankalpa. So it is my invitation to you that have intention in every communication and be in the service of the intention rather than being the slave of your triggers. Thank you.